Yashodanandana Prajajanarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya
Skritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devi Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayet
Tato Jayam Diyayet
Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu
Sapravishu Bhareshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke
Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki.
Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, we are in Canto 2, the first step in God realization. This is chapter 1 of Canto 2, and we are on text number, what text are we on? So 20? 20. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Rajasamobhyam akshiptam
vimudham mana atmanaha
Vimudam mana atmanaha
yached dharanaya dhiro
Yachetharanaya dhiro
anti yatat kritam malam.
Anti yatat kritam madam.
This is chapter 1 of the second canto, text 20. 2:120. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Rajasamobhyam akshiptam
vimudham mana atmanaha
Vimudam mana atmanaha
yachet dharanaya dhiro
Yachetharanaya dhiro
hanti yatat kritam malam.
Anti yatat kritam malam. Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Vimudham mana atmanaha
vimudham mana atmanaha
Yachetharanaya dhiro
yachet dharanaya dhiro
Anti yatat kritam malam.
hanti yatat kritam malam.
Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Vimudham mana atmanaha
vimudham mana atmanaha
Yachetharanaya dhiro
yachet dharanaya dhiro
Anti yatat kritam malam.
hanti yatat kritam malam.
Rajastamobhyam akshiptam
Rajasamobhyam akshiptam
Vimudham mana atmanaha
Vimudham mana atmanaha
Yachet dharanaya dhiro
Yachet dharanaya dhiro
Hanti yatat kritam malam
Hatiyata kramalam Raja,
Raja,
the passionate mode of nature.
the passionate mode of nature.
Samobhyam,
Tamobhyam,
as well as by the ignorant mode of material nature.
as well as ignorant nature.
Akshiptam,
Ashritam,
agitated.
agitated.
Vimudham,
Vimudham,
bewildered.
bewildered.
Mana,
Mana,
the mind. Atmanaha,
atmanaha,
of one's own.
of one's own.
Yachet,
Yachet,
get it rectified.
get it.
Dharanaya,
Adhanaya,
by conception of Vishnu.
by conception.
Dhira,
Dhira,
the pacified.
the pacified.
Anti,
Manti,
destroys.
destroys.
Ya,
Ya,
all those.
all those.
Tat kritam,
Tatkritam,
done by them.
done by them.
Malam,
Malam,
dirty things.
dirty things.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. One's mind is always agitated by the passionate mode of material nature and bewildered by the ignorant mode of nature. But one can rectify such conceptions by the relation of Vishnu and thus become pacified by cleansing the dirty things created by them. Persons generally conducted by the modes of passion and ignorance cannot be bona fide candidates for being situated in the transcendental stage of God realization. Only persons conducted by the mode of goodness can have the knowledge of the supreme truth. Effects of the modes of passion and ignorance are manifested by too much hankering after wealth and women, and those who are too much after wealth and women can rectify their leanings only by constant remembrance of Vishnu in his potential impersonal feature. Generally, the impersonalists or monists are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. Such impersonalists think of themselves as liberated souls, but they have no knowledge of the transcendental personal feature of the absolute truth. Actually, they are impure in heart on account of being devoid of knowledge of the personal feature of the absolute. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that after many hundreds of births, the impersonal philosopher surrenders unto the personality of Godhead. To acquire such a qualification of God realization in the personal feature, the neophyte impersonalist is given a chance to realize the relation of the Lord in everything by the philosophy of pantheism. Pantheism, in its higher status, does not permit the student to form an impersonal conception of the absolute truth, but it extends the conception of the absolute truth into the field of the so-called material energy. Everything created by the material energy can be dovetailed with the absolute by an attitude of service, which is the essential part of living energy. The pure devotee of the Lord knows the art of converting everything into its spiritual existence by this service attitude, and only in that devotional way can the theory of pantheism be perfected. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Shri Chaitanya Ishvaram Paramananda Madhavam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the qualification to understand God, to get Gigyan, real experience of God, is that one has to be cleansed of the lower modes of nature. As long as one is infected by the modes of passion and ignorance, then one can't see, one cannot understand reality properly. Their vision of reality will be distorted, just like in the mode of passion. How does one see living beings? One just sees the difference of all living beings. This person, this is a male or a female. This person belongs to this nationality, this race, this social status, this species of life. That's the vision. They can't understand the unity, the oneness of all living beings, and therefore they discriminate. They discriminate, and they have the desire for material enjoyment. And those who assist in the material enjoyment, they are made allies with. Those are my friends, so-called friends, because they're my allies in fulfilling my desires. The mind is just reeling with desires, mode of passion, unlimited longings and desires. Doesn't matter what you have. You can possess, $1 billion, and then what? Just chill out, relax, now retire? No retirement. Just keep going. The mode of passion compels one, pushes one to keep trying to get more. Okay, I have so much now. I want power. I want prestige. I want my name on all sorts of buildings, and I want a statue of myself to be erected. That's the mode of passion. Unlimited longings and desires, always harassing the mind of the conditioned soul. Not a moment of peace. Yes? The conditioned soul, under the influence of the mode of passion, doesn't have even a moment of peace. Never. How could it be peaceful if the mind is raging with all sorts of longings and desires? So that's the mode of passion. And based on that vision, one creates friends and enemies, and has very little regard for people that cannot assist me in my endeavor for happiness, for sense gratification. Certain categories of living being, I see them like food. I have no consideration that this is a living being with their own desires, with their own plan for happiness. No consideration at all. So I'm willing even to cause great pain to other living beings for my enjoyment. This is the curse of the mode of passion. And ignorance, a good chunk of ignorance mixed in there too. So as long as one is infected by these lower modes of nature, one will always have a wrong vision of life, wrong vision of the world. The world is meant for my gratification. I come into the world and I look and I see all the objects of this world, and I don't see them as God's property. This is God's property, and it's meant to be utilized for God's purpose, God's service. Not at all. I see it that it's all potentially meant for my gratification. And so what is the result of this mode of passion? Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that one who's in the mode of passion, seeking happiness, they experience some temporary titillation of the senses. The senses are temporarily stimulated, and it feels like nectar. Just like we sometimes meet someone on Sankirtan that just fell in love, isn't it? We see them, they just fell in love. They met just the person of their dreams, right? And
You
they've
can
got,
always tell it's a new relationship.
yeah, that's it. It's the, what is it called? It's the enchantment stage, or the infatuation stage. They're enamored by this person. I met the perfect person. He's the right guy. She's the right gal. Yeah, enchanted. There's a sparkle in the eyes. It's nectar. And everything that person does is enchanting and wonderful. Even the way they burp. I love the way, even I love the way they burp. Yeah? And then sometimes on Sankirtan, we meet someone on the tail end of the relationship, right? Walking just so downcast, so much in pain, heartbroken, disappointed to the core, isn't it? This is the mode of passion. Nectar in the beginning and poison in the end. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So Krishna gives his verdict, his advice in the Bhagavad Gita. Yehi samsparshaja boga duka yonaya evate adhyantavanta konteya nateshu ramate buddha. An intelligent person, someone who understands things properly, does not take part in the sources of misery. The thing which everyone thinks, everyone across the board thinks, that's the cause of pleasure. That's the cause of happiness. Krishna says categorically, this is the cause of misery. What is that? The contact of the senses with the sense objects based on some selfish desire to enjoy. Guaranteed. And even someone who knows this, even someone who has that understanding, that's not enough. It's not enough just to have the understanding. Someone can have the experience. I did this. It gave me temporary gratification and left me, I don't know why they say high and dry, low and dry. It left me unsatisfied, left me depressed, left me unfulfilled, left me feeling lousy, a big hole in my heart still. But the senses again and again, the mind again and again will push the living entity. The senses are so strong and impetuous that they forcibly carry away the mind. Who? Of a fool? No, not of a fool. Even of a man of discrimination. Discrimination means able to understand what things are. Even of a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. Wow. So it's not enough just to have the theoretical knowledge, especially in modern life. In civilized civilizations, the society was arranged in such a way. Obviously, there was things to pull the senses, but much less than nowadays. Much less. Nowadays, everything's just out in the open. There's no modesty. There's no rules and regulations. Nothing is conducted by the codes of Dharma for the upliftment of society. Anything goes. So the society is being conducted by Vaishyas, not proper Vaishyas, corrupted Vaishyas, people that have the intention to make unlimited money. And towards that end, they're willing to do anything. They're literally willing to do anything. They're willing to sell poison to children. Yeah? Through the advertising. They advertise something. They used to advertise cigarettes. And how did they advertise it? They understood that we need to maximize our profit. And the way to maximize our profit, we got to catch them when they're young, right? Because then you got a lifetime smoker, right? You're not catching them when they're 20, because then you've only got 50 years to kill them. You got to catch them when they're 14, 15 years old, make them addicted to cigarettes. So they would have advertising, which was specifically targeted towards kids. Can you imagine how devilish it is, how demoniac it is? What for? For the sake of profit. That's it. For the sake of making more money. So now there's a little bit of restriction on that, right? Now there's some restriction. Now on every cigarette pack, it's got those, you see the cigarette packs? It's got horrible pictures of people with black lungs, and it's all full of warnings. The whole back of a cigarette pack is full of warnings. This is going to kill you. This is going to cause lung disease. This is going to cause emphysema. This is going to cause you cancer. This is going to put you into such a state of agony, along with pictures. And still, people can't control the senses because the mind and senses are so strong that they push people towards. So the Vaishyas, so-called Vaishyas, they're not Vaishyas, they're demons. They're willing to do anything to maximize the bottom line, even willing to start wars and kill tens of thousands of innocent people, women and children, and innocent men too. Men count too, somehow or other, when there's a great objection to a war. So women and children are being killed. the men are also, the men should also be spared. But these people are not willing to spare anyone. They're willing to start wars on some false pretext. Why? Because they can make money from it through oil or through geopolitical control or through destroying a place so that they can rebuild it. Yeah, they destroy a place and then bring in their construction companies and make a killing and mass produce their weapons and you got to use the weapons so that you can make money and then produce more weapons. So these are demons engaged in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. And all of this is happening because of an absence of proper leadership. If it was proper leadership, then these people would be put strictly under control, regulated. No, you're not allowed to sell that garbage, that poison to society. No way. Here's the category of things that you're allowed to sell to society, and here's the category of things that you're not allowed to sell. Not in the name of freedom. Anyone can speak anything or act in any way or sell any damn thing, excuse me. Not at all. The ruler, the proper ruler who's trained, he regulates all of that. The Kshatriyas, they keep the Vaishyas under control because the Vaishyas are influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance, right? So they have to be kept under control. And the Shudras also have to be kept under control. And the Kshatriyas have to be kept under control because they're in the mode of passion. So their vision sometimes gets clouded. So the Brahmins, they're directing the Kshatriyas. No, that's not, you're not thinking clearly. You don't have the big picture. Take these other things into consideration. So this is the influence of the lower modes of nature, which block the living entity from coming to their natural position. Keep the living entity bound, entangled, addicted to the material energy. There's no choice. It's not like another option, It's not another option. The only option is to connect, to Krishna, to Vishnu. That's the only option. Someone might just try to renounce. I'm just going to try to renounce. I understand that's poison. That mode of living is not going to bring me happiness. It's going to cause me suffering. So then someone just tries to renounce. But in the absence of the higher taste, the connection with Madan Mohan, very, very difficult. Someone might be able to live in some monastery somewhere in isolation, away from society, away from all the temptations of the world, away from the internet, and might also have a background from the past lives of cultivation of renunciation and might be able to sustain their spiritual practice and stay above the influence of the lower modes of nature, but very impractical for the people in the modern day. Most impractical. What's practical is the process which is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda. Kevala Ananda Kanda. Prabhupada said simply, singing, dancing, and taking Krishna Prasadam. Very, very pleasing process where the senses are actively engaged. The senses become satisfied. Yeah, they become satisfied. Prabhupada was not in favor of excessive austerity. He told Satsvarup Maharaj this is not good because he saw that Satsvarup Maharaj was becoming very thin, by following very strict diet, Prabhupada, this is not good. This excessive austerity is not good. Rather, one should take sense gratification like salt. You have to take nice prasadam, not too rich, but not too austere, in a way that the mind becomes satisfied. In the same way, Krishna recommends a balanced life. What's the verse from the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna is recommending a balanced life? Yukta hara viharasya yukta chestasya karmasu. Yukta spapna vibodasya yogo bhavati dukkha. That one who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate the miseries of life through the practice of yoga. So this is important. Otherwise, the mind becomes agitated, disturbed, So this is the remedy. And here in this purport, Prabhupada is talking about how one goes from the impersonal conception gradually to a personal, an appreciation of the personal aspect of the absolute. And Krishna is giving recommendations in the Bhagavad Gita to one who is not spiritually evolved. Someone who's spiritually evolved spontaneously, naturally sees Krishna in everything. Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. They see because their eyes are tinged with the salve of love. So everywhere they look, they see Krishna. They can't not see Krishna anywhere. But the conditioned soul doesn't see Krishna anywhere. The conditioned soul, because of an impure heart, can't see Krishna even in the most obvious places. They look at the world, they see the beauty, the symmetry, the majesty, the intricacy, the organization of the world on a macro level and on a micro level. Macro level means they observe that the planets are revolving in perfect orbit, and they're doing that since time immemorial, right? And then they look on a micro level, and as science progresses and they're able to, go probe deeper and deeper into the micro aspects of existence, they're stunned, they're astonished, like, my God. We think an atom is just like one unit. No, you go inside the atom and you see it's more complex than a city in terms of its structure and its complexity and the way it's all woven together. So what's the natural conclusion? The natural conclusion is, wow, who's the brain behind this? Like, who did this? Who in the world did this? What kind of brain is it that did this? That's not their conclusion. Their impure hearts, their envy of Krishna directs them to a totally irrational idea that all of it has arisen by chance. Poof, magic. And then they point the finger. I'm into science. You're into faith. You have faith. I believe in science. That's science. That's called science. That conclusion is scientific? No. It's a conclusion which is so unbelievably faithful. It's irrationally faithful. It's blind faith. It doesn't at all jibe, or it's not at all consistent with anyone's experience of reality. Even a child can understand this car or this Lego set, which is nicely put together in the form of a house and a car. It didn't spring up automatically. Even a simple structure doesn't spring up automatically. But their conclusion is automatic. Why? Because of their impure hearts. That's all it is. This deep, deep envy of Krishna prevents them from ever accepting that reality. And the impersonalists, they also are infected by the same poison of envy of Krishna. Therefore, life after life, despite so many good arguments, despite strong arguments against impersonalism, they can accommodate it in their brain, the personal form of God. They don't like it. They don't like that idea that there's a supreme person and that I'm a servant of that supreme person. So they come up with silly ideas. Yes, we're all God. And just temporarily, what happened to the God? God became covered by illusion. Oh, really? How did that happen? How did something overwhelm the supreme being? And this is inconceivable. They resort to the idea of inconceivability. Yeah. Instead of just admitting that it's a stupid idea, that the soul, that the supreme has become covered by illusion. And then when you become uncovered through our practice, you'll once again realize that you are the supreme. Hare Krishna. One of the arguments against impersonalism, as far as I know, Madhvacharya's arguments. Paundraka, he was fake Vasudeva, dressing himself up very nicely with the yellow dhoti and some fake Kaustuba gem and some, the whole thing, right? The shark-shaped earrings, the whole thing, he was going for it. And then he sent that letter, and he was being encouraged by his ministers. Yes, you're Vasudeva. That's what they were encouraging him. And so Prabhupada says he was like a child being encouraged by his buddies. You all go into the forest. Okay, I'm the king. And the other friend said, yeah, you are the king. They give him a crown, paper crown. He's sitting on a tree stump. And then he's imagining, and all of his friends, yes, you're the. So this was the ministers all encouraging, yes, you're the real Vasudeva. That person over there in Dwarka, he's the fake. He's not the real one. You're the real one. He became so convinced. He wrote a letter to Krishna saying that I'm the real Vasudeva, and I insist, I demand that you give up the symbols of Vasudeva, the four symbols, the wheel, the chakra, shankha, gada, and padma. You give up these symbols. These are my symbols. So when the letter reached Krishna, Krishna was with some of his associates. And he said, I'm the real, they were reading, the messenger, I am the real Vasudeva. You are not the real, you're an imitation God. And when they heard that, they all just started laughing, like really deep, deep laughter, the kind of laughter where you run out of air. And then they recovered. And that's the argument against impersonalism. That's it right there. Krishna and the laughter of Krishna and his associates when Pondraka presented himself as Vasudeva. So the impersonalists, they're blocked. They're blocked from understanding the personal form of God because they have that aversion. I don't want to serve God. And who else has that aversion to serving God? Me, Hare Krishna. Unfortunately, most unfortunately, this irrational, unreasonable aversion to being the servant of Krishna. Yeah? It's a deep-seated impurity in the heart, this idea that I don't want to be a servant. I don't want to be a servant. But what is that position of servant? The position of servant is the highest position. It's such a high position that Advaita Acharya, he's Mahavishnu, he's God himself. And Mahaprabhu was treating him with great respect because he was elder. So Mahaprabhu was following the culture, treating him with great reverence and awe. And Advaita Acharya didn't like that. He wanted to be treated like a servant. And sometimes the servant is corrected. So he devised a scheme. He's God, so he came up with a good plan. And he didn't tell Mahaprabhu the plan. And he started preaching impersonalism. And Mahaprabhu found out that Advaita Acharya is preaching impersonalism from the Yoga Vasishta. So he's sitting there on the Vyasasana. And Mahaprabhu comes from Mayapur to, I guess, Shantipur at that time. And he comes into the assembly, and Advaita Acharya is very vigorously preaching impersonalism. And he comes, Mahaprabhu was very upset. And he says, so Advaita Acharya, you tell me now, which is higher? The personal feature of the Absolute or the impersonal feature? The path of bhakti or the path of jnana? Which is higher? And Advaita Acharya looks and says, everyone knows that you must cultivate an understanding of the Absolute impersonal. Otherwise, how will you? Mahaprabhu became so infuriated. He grabbed Advaita Acharya off the Vyasasana, took him off the Vyasasana, and started beating him. And Advaita Acharya's wife was pleading, no, he's an old man. He was an old man. Please stop. You're going to kill him. Please stop. And Advaita Acharya was in ecstasy. He said, he's accepted me as a servant. He's accepted me as a servant. So this is how exalted, how wonderful the position of being the servant of Krishna is. So our process of bhakti, it's a process of utter dependence on Krishna. That's what it is. Utter dependence on Krishna. Daivihi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mam eva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This ocean of material existence, the ocean of the modes of nature, it's insurpassable. Insurpassable. Especially that attachment to enjoying the opposite sex. It's so deep-rooted. It's so difficult to overcome. Even great sages, even great mystics, even great yogis, they fall victim. And then this desire for false prestige. I I'm someone, I'm someone, look at me. The vanity, the false ego, thinking oneself better than others. This is the ocean. We said the ocean of material existence. What does it mean? Some physical ocean? No, it's the ocean that's inside the heart. These great obstacles. So how does one overcome it? One doesn't overcome it by the analytical process. This is reality. This is illusion. Let me decipher it. No, one overcomes this great ocean of illusion by just fully depending, crying out to Krishna in a mood, in an understanding of one's helplessness, and especially calling out to Nityananda and Lord Gauranga, because they're especially merciful. And then by their grace, gradually, this foolishness, this undesirable burden will gradually decrease. And one day, by their grace, it'll be lifted from our hearts. And then we'll be free. Free to do what? Free just to serve Krishna with love. That's all. And then it's effortless, positively effortless. It's not that, okay, wake up in the morning and the mind is, come on, Taradas, get out of bed. You can do it. Get out of bed, and the whole discussion with the mind. And, there's no challenge at all. It's most spontaneous. I was just hearing from Satsvarup Maharaj, this process of japa, he said, is hard work. Krishna, it's hard work, It's hard work up to a certain point. It's hard work up to a certain point. And when the soul is sufficiently purified, then it's not work at all. It's ecstasy, the ecstasy of relishing Krishna, that relishing Krishna's name. Prabhupada was walking, I believe it was in Kenya, and a devotee asked Prabhupada that, how do we know if we're chanting quality japa? Prabhupada, there's no question of quality. You must chant 16 rounds. It is your duty. And the devotee didn't quite get the answer. Okay, I chant 6, but how do I know it's quality? And Prabhupada said, you will know it's quality when you think, why 16? Why not 16,000? Then you'll know you have quality, because there's such a taste, such a relish, because the name of Krishna is the reservoir of unlimited ecstasy, unlimited pleasure, like that. But a conditioned soul who's not yet purified, Ata Shri Krishna Namadi, Nabhavet Grahyam Indriyai, Sevan Mukhe Hijivado, Svayam Eva Spuratyada. We can't experience until we get purified. We can't experience who Krishna is. We don't get it. Not we. I don't get it. I'm there in front of the deities. And, I have a better vision now than I had 40 years ago, Krishna willing. But we can't experience Krishna properly until our senses are purified. And this is the medicine. That's the medicine. Yeah? The Bhagavatam is the medicine. Sometimes reading the Bhagavatam and it's like, sometimes it's like very enjoyable because it's a certain part of the Bhagavatam, which is philosophically, I understand it, or it's a Leela, which I'm enjoying it. And other parts of the Bhagavatam, I'm just like, I don't understand how this is the highest scripture. Why? Is there some fault in the Bhagavatam? Was Maharaj Parikshit thinking that when he was hearing the fifth canto, description of the universe? Like, can you get on to the fun part? No, he was relishing. Why? Because his senses were purified. His intelligence was purified. And the Bhagavatam is non-different. It's the medicine for the conditioned soul. And then that medicine turns into the nectar. It starts as medicine and turns into nectar. So that's what we're doing. We're just taking the medicine. And gradually the disease of the soul is being cured. And we're coming back to our normal position, our normal life. Our normal life is not to struggle. It's not to fight. It's not to grind it out just to, full of anxiety. That's not our normal life. We're children of Krishna, children of God. The normal life of the soul is just to sing, to dance. It's an eternal, unending festival of enjoyment. That's what it is. That's the spiritual world. Krishna's going out and herding the cows. Is Krishna herding cows? No. They're just going out and playing. And the cows are also part of that enjoyment. That's all. Mother Yashoda, she doesn't like that Krishna goes every day to the forest. No one does. And they stay with us here in the village. No, I've got to do my duty, herd the cows. Mother Yashoda, well, I'm also a cow herd. I can go with you and herd the cows with you. And Krishna says, we don't really herd cows. We just go and play mom. You stay. We'll come back at the end of the day. So with great difficulty, every day she's allowing Krishna to go into the forest with great difficulty. So this is the real life, the life of bliss and enjoyment. And that's what Prabhupada has given us, the exact process of going from the life of struggle to the life of highest enjoyment and bliss. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yes, Vijay Prabhu.
Can you shed some light on this sentence?
Oh no. the one I was avoiding.
You don't have to, but maybe some between the five of us. And those who are too much after wealth and women can rectify their leanings only by constant remembrance of Vishnu and his creature composed of impersonal potencies.
Okay. So someone who is in a preliminary stage of development, just like we have in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. What do we have in the 10th chapter? We have all these recommendations, right? How to see God in the different manifestations. So I'm taking it that impersonal means not impersonal in the sense of the impersonal Brahman, but in the material energy, because that fits with the rest of the purport, pantheism. Pantheism means to see God in nature. That's what pantheism is. So they can rectify those tendencies gradually. Obviously, the full rectification, the most recommended process is just connect to Krishna directly through his holy name.
Also seeing the hand of God in nature.
Yeah, seeing God in nature as prescribed. Yeah. Huh? There's the sunrise. Don't see it that some physical activity is happening. See that, oh, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm the light of the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon are my eyes, like that. I'm of bodies of water, I'm the ocean, like that. So it's what's the name of this chapter of the Bhagavatam? The first step in God realization. The first step. So first step is at least don't see nature disconnected from God. See nature connected to God. So that's how I understand this verse, and that kind of fits with the rest of the purport.
Prabhupada said that if someone just observes a flower long enough, they'll understand it must be God behind this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Prabhupada says that a devotee is enjoying life with a thrill at every moment. Why? Because in everything they're seeing the hand of Krishna. They're never forgetful of Krishna. So they don't just see a flower. They appreciate the flower more than the materialist appreciates the flower, because they're appreciating it in a pure way, not with an attitude of exploitation, but with an attitude of appreciation of Krishna's artistry, his beauty, and how wonderful Krishna is. You know, souls rebel against him, right? Like if someone rebels against you and starts speaking bad about you, you're not going to be so inclined to maintain them, take care of them, make arrangements for them. But Krishna, that's not his nature. Krishna's nature is so generous. He's so kind that someone can turn their back for 1 trillion lifetimes. And Krishna's still, I'm still going to give you facility to live, and I'm going to give you full opportunity, and I'm still going to try to get you back home, back to Godhead. And when you turn your face towards Krishna, it's not like, well, for 1 billion lifetimes, you've forgotten me and blasphemed me and tried to exploit my mature. Not at all. Krishna's just happy. He's just happy. Soul is turning back to me. That's Krishna's beautiful, magnanimous nature. That's the person who I'm still averse to serving because I'm insane. But he's working on every soul. What to speak of the souls that are trying in a very focused way to come back to Krishna's going to make all arrangements. I think we're out of time, yeah? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.